to help you better understand and appreciate your natural world. Brought to you from the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, funded entirely by sportsmen and women like you to provide better outdoor opportunities for all to enjoy, today and tomorrow.
Hi, welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. This week we're looking at the Red River, and my guest today is Bob Pitman. He's a project leader for the Oklahoma Fisheries Resources Office with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And we're down here on the Red River right now doing a kind of unique netting today, Bob.
Yes, in this location last week we collected several broodstock paddlefish which were taken to the Tishomingo National Fish Hatchery and successfully spawned. And earlier today we released some of those broodstock upriver a few miles, and we're coming in here now so that we can reset this area and put our gill nets out to see if there are more paddlefish that have moved into this area. We suspect this is a spawning site, which is fairly rare on the Red River because paddlefish need a hard rock strata for successful spawning, and we think this might be that key location.
And what are we going to do with these fish if we catch some more?
If we catch paddlefish here, we will take all the vital statistics off those fish. We will weigh them and measure them and jaw tag them so we can identify those fish later on, and then we will release them back into the Red River, and it will give us a little bit more understanding of where these fish go and when they go to different places and how fast they grow. The next time we see them, maybe 5 years from now.
They have a tremendous range. I know that some of them go up the Mississippi River.
That's exactly right. These are interjurisdictional species of fish, and the paddlefish, the sturgeon, are two primary migratory species that go up and down the Mississippi Basin to many different locations, and the Red River, of course, is a part of that range, and they migrate in and out of here and down through the other parts of Mississippi.
Now the paddlefish is a neat looking fish, and earlier today, as Bob mentioned, we were down on the river releasing the ones that they had used as broodstock.
Paddlefish broodstock that we collected here in this river section last week, and we've used them at the hatchery, and now we're getting ready to release them back in the area where we picked them up. You can see that we've already taken some information of these fish, and we put a jaw tag in them, and you can also see the remnants of a suture that was put in this fish when I biopsied it last week to determine whether it was a male or female and to see what its sexual condition is. And these sutures are non-lethal to the fish, and they will work their way out. In a few months there will be nothing here but a scar where this incision was made. This is an awfully unique fish. It is prehistoric. It has not changed at all since the time of the dinosaurs, and it has got one of the unique features is this rostrum, this large paddle that sticks out in front of the fish, and we're still not exactly certain what the reason for this rostrum is, but it helps to stabilize the fish as it swims into the current. It's a zooplankton strainer. It's got a very large mouth, and it'll flare that mouth out and strain zooplankton out of the water. And when it does that, it creates a tremendous drag, and this rostrum helps to keep it stabilized in the water. This rostrum is also covered with unique electrosensory pores all up and down the rostrum and across the body, which sends signal to the brain and tell it what to do and advises it of obstacles that are in the water. It has very vestigial eyes, very small eyes. They're not very important to this fish. It operates in very turbid water conditions, and these electrosensory pores are what tell it what to do, not its eyes. And that's why the eyes are so vestigial and set way back here where they really can't see very much. So they don't stress very easily. There's no scales on this fish. It's all smooth skin.
Now back at the hatchery, you guys are raising a bunch of young up there.
Exactly.
And what's going to happen with those?
Okay, the Texoma Dam, which is just upriver from where we're filming here, about 3 or 4 miles, has blocked this fish, which is a migratory species, migrated up and down the Mississippi River and throughout the tributaries to the Mississippi, and up above Texoma Dam up in the Washita and the Red River. It was collected before Texoma Dam went in. Once the dam went in, it blocked its ability to get into the upper reaches of the Washita and the Red, where it spawned traditionally during the flooded springtime of the year. And what we're doing is collecting these here close to the dam, spawning them at the hatchery, and then the progeny will be stocked back in Lake Texoma, where they will produce a new population of fish, and once again they'll be migrating up the Red and the Washita, where they will spawn and reproduce quite nicely in the lake environment.
They really are an amazing fish, aren't they?
They are an incredible species, one of the antique fishes that still inhabit the Mississippi River Basin and of course the Red River.
What makes this more prehistoric than a crappie or a bass or a largemouth bass?
Well, the reason we can call this one prehistoric is because it has remained unchanged through evolutionary history back through the time of the dinosaurs. Whereas the crappie and bass and those sorts of species have evolved, they didn't look that way in those years, and this fish has remained the same. So it's an antique species. The sturgeon is the same way. It has looked exactly the same in fossil records then as it does now. The alligator gar is another one that dates back into that period, and here's a large species that gets over 200 pounds that inhabits this river system here, and very little is known about it, and we're studying that as well as the sturgeon to try and determine what their life histories there are, and whether there is anything that's impacting them negatively that we can do and prevent any negative outcome in the future, such as extinction, which is what we don't want.
I've had the opportunity to go on with you on a couple explorations on the Red River, and you've done a couple of those trips. And the purpose of that was to find these prehistoric fish.
Exactly. The Red River, from where we're standing, Texoma Dam, down to the Arkansas line, is a very unique section of the river. It has very few access points. There's very few fishermen that use this section of the river, and there's not a lot known about it. So there's been very few scientific studies and investigations done on the river. And in 1996, we started doing our first Red River surveys, which I invited you along to film. We put together a crew of biologists and scientists from all over the Southwest and surveyed the river from Texoma Dam to the Arkansas line. And we were basically on a searching expedition to see what was out there, what kind of obstacles the river was going to present, so that as we went forward in the future, we knew how to plan our sampling procedures and protocols. And in 1997, we came back and we did a couple of smaller expeditions where we went to the upper part of the Red River, and one where we went to the lower section down at an area we call the Rock Shoals, and that was the one you were invited along on and did some filming on. Since then, we did a couple surveys last year. Again, these are surveys that are put together by team biologists and researchers from this part of the country, and we try to target particular areas to try and learn as much as we can out about those 4 primary antique species of sturgeon, both the pallid and the shovel nose, and the alligator gar and the paddlefish. We're using gill nets and hoop nets specifically in this habitat for the paddlefish and for the sturgeon. The collection gear that we're using should work. We feel that it has worked in other places if those fish are here and if they're moving. And if other factors don't get in the way, we should be able to collect some of them. And we hope that we'll find some tomorrow. We know that the species are distributed not in an even manner up and down the river. And it's just a matter of us figuring out where they're at and what gear will collect them when we do find those locations. We're still in a learning process, identifying those areas that are good holding habitats for the sturgeon and the paddlefish. And then we will refine our collection techniques, and in a few years we should have things down to where we know where we're going and what kind of gear we're going to use when we get there. We're on one of the many bends on the Red River. Its characteristics are that it's a hard clay bank, and it makes the river bend significantly, causing fairly deep channels. And it's one of the areas that we've identified would probably be good habitat for paddlefish and sturgeon. This is the final evening of our 3-day collection event. So we're putting all of our gear in this one habitat type to see if we can find any of our target species, that being paddlefish or paddle sturgeon or shovel-nosed sturgeon. Blue sucker!
Yeah, they're kind of a rare big river fish. They're the only species in that genus. It's monotypic.
We've had less than sterling success. We have not found any of our target species. However, we're not really discouraged because we're just learning the process. We're learning where to go and how to sample for them, and it's going to take us quite a while to figure it out. We know that it is a long-term process once you begin one of these types of investigations. The Red River has been here for a long time and will be here for a long time, but it'll take us quite a while to understand what the significance of all of its aquatic resources are. But if we don't know what's out here, then we can't preserve it and make sure that its integrity is good for future generations. That's basically why we're out here from all the different agencies addressing this tremendous resource.
Smallmouth buffalo.
I don't know about you, Bob. You probably get used to looking at them, but I still think those paddlefish are pretty amazing fish.
I'm like you, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of looking at them. They're so unique and so interesting, as are some of the other species of fish that we've seen out here in the Red River. Many of them we've sampled while you've been along and had the video camera there. Some of our principal species we still haven't been able to collect in enough quantity for you to film for this show. Hopefully we'll be successful at different times. Maybe today. Maybe we'll find some sturgeon.
You know, we've looked at the Red River proper as well as some oxbows, and we had pretty good luck at Hurricane Lake.
Yeah.
That last expedition.
Yes, we did. There were a lot of fish there. We were looking particularly for alligator gar. It was an oxbow situation, prime habitat for alligator gar, and we went in there and hit it with an electrofishing boat and worked very hard. We turned up lots of gar species, but no alligator gar, which makes me think that there's a lot that's still unknown about the alligator gar, and we as fishery professionals need to start figuring out what's going on with them. The alligator gar prefers the slower habitats, such as the one we're sampling here, which is a backwater area, an oxbow lake. Waters are slow, and this is the kind of habitat that an alligator gar would prefer. The paddlefish are inhabiting both type water habits. They will be in the heavy flow water, and they'll move into slow slack water areas such as this for different feeding and parts of their life. Right now the water is too warm for them, and the paddlefish would be in the heavy water areas, but later in the year when it's water's a little bit cooler, they might inhabit this kind of water.
Give the shad, large. Big mouth buffalo again.
We collected approximately 20 different species of fish, so this is all information that will be recorded and passed on to other universities that are studying the aquatic inhabitants of this river so that they can maintain a species list that is current and up to date. We didn't find the alligator gar, which is what we were looking for. We didn't find any of the juvenile gar species. There are 4 gar out here: alligator, short nose, long nose, and spotted. We found 2 of them. We found the spotted gar and the long nose gar. We're very curious as to why we aren't finding any of the young gar species. We should find fish that are less than 6 to 7 inches, and we have not found any of those yet. So we're still looking for them. We feel confident that they are in this area of the river, but we aren't finding them yet.
We didn't catch any of our target fish out there at Hurricane Lake, but I see right now, Bob, out here where we put these nets for the paddlefish, it looks like we have something already.
You're right, Steve, and there's fish out there. We'll find out real soon what they are.
We're going to go out there and work them up, but first, this week's Outdoor News Report.
Brent has taken some vital statistics on these animals and putting a jaw tag in it, so the next time we see this fish, we can refer it back to our records and see what its length was. We're using a standard paddlefish measurement, which is from the center of the eyeball to the fork of the tail, and then he'll weigh it, so we have the length and the weight, and we can tie it with that jaw tag, and then anywhere where the fish is captured, that jaw tag will go into a central data bank, and then we can determine how much it's grown and what its weight is at the next recapture location.
Do you have any idea how far some of these Red River fish move?
We have not got enough samples out here to really determine that. That's one of the reasons that we're doing this right now. We're just capturing and tagging and releasing, and then we'll follow up later on with more capture effort to see if we can recapture these that we've tagged.
These fish look like they're in really good shape.
Yes, we've had a disease biologist along a couple years ago on one of our surveys who's done disease analysis and found them to be quite healthy.
Today we've picked up a spotted gar. We're going to use it to help us see what sort of parasites and, like I said before, bacteria and virus might be present in the Red River. Most people think we've already have this knowledge, but there are bits and pieces throughout the United States that have never been looked at before, and the Red River is one of them.
Landye, the disease biologist that came along with us in 1997, did some disease profiles on several of the species that we captured and found that everything that was there was pretty routine and pretty normal, and we kind of expect that to be the same all along. These fish, samples of these fish are being collected and sent to him again so that we can make a continuous record of the diseases that we find out here. But at this time, everything looks very normal and very healthy.
I understand a lot of that they're attributing to the salinity in the river.
Exactly. The salinity is a natural part of this river system, and is definitely probably enabling the fishes to ward off a lot of diseases and pathogens that in other systems might be more catastrophic.
Well, thanks for being with us this week.
Enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you all next week on Outdoor Oklahoma.